Welcome to the Micheaux Mission, Two Men, One Podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Vincent Williams, and I am joined as always by my partner.
Hey, what's up? Holla at your boy. This is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. Hello.
And on this stop of the mission, we will be discussing 1961's The Connection, a film by experimental filmmaker Shirley Clarke about drugs, jazz, and the nature of storytelling. But before we get to that, Mr. Webb, what's going on here in these internet streets?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Vince. We like to take a moment to show a little light and show a little love to each and every one of you out there in Missionaryville who shows love to us, like all of you sitting there watching us live as we stream on YouTube as well as on Facebook. Shout out to Deborah Battle, Aaron Fry, Robert Monroe, everyone out there. What's up?
Hey,
how you
what's
doing?
going on, folks? What's going on?
Hey, Vince, we got another 5-star review.
Hey, love those.
On Apple Podcast. Yes, we do. This review is from Poe Brown 33.
Hey, Poe Brown 33.
I stumbled upon this podcast looking for a deep dive for shows that did deep dives into House Party.
Well, you're in the right place. Brown 33.
First of all, I'm amazed that if I read that right, he was looking for podcasts that do deep dives into House Party.
Yes.
I'd be curious if there are more, if there is a podcast that is devoted to doing a deep dive into House Party.
You know what? Without looking, I can guarantee you there have been at least 5 episodes of film podcasts that have been devoted to House Party.
I hear you.
And at least 2 hip-hop ones.
He continues, I'm glad I did since it led me to this podcast. I typically don't enjoy pre-topic chatter, but I enjoy the conversation between these two podcasters prior to diving into the movie choice. There were tons of fun facts I didn't know about my favorite duo, Kid and Play. As a new listener, I have to say that any podcast that takes the time to do a well-thought review of House Party is already a winner in my mind. Thanks for the quarantine material.
Oh, well, you're welcome. And thank you for the kind words. There you go.
Very welcome. Very welcome. All right. Okay. Hey, Vince, the last time we spoke here on these interwebs, there was a dark cloud hanging over the entire country that seemingly had been stuck in place for 4 years.
Right. Or at least half the country.
Well, at least okay. You're right. Yeah. At least half the country.
Oh, yeah. Let's be clear. Half the country is cool with the racist, xenophobic, misogynist Nazi. These are the people in your neighborhood, in your neighborhood.
AKA the President of the United States.
Yeah.
But we have now a president-elect.
We do.
The United States, as Joe Biden won the election for president, meaning that he will be our 46th president. It also means that former Senator Kamala Harris is our vice president-elect, and she will be the first woman vice president, the first black vice president, the first, I believe, Asian
Southern
vice
Asian,
president.
Yeah.
She's going to be definitely killing it, as she was killing it on stage in her white suit. I will put it out there right now. She looked fantastic.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
Absolutely. Congratulations to all
Definitely.
to back to hopefully the regular status quo.
You know, one of the things that I haven't heard anyone mention, I mentioned it on Black Tribbles the other night. No, I mentioned it on Sunday. On spoiler alert. One of the things I haven't heard anyone mention that is one of the most coolest, things to come out of this election is that I cannot wait for when Joe Biden delivers his first State of the Union address in Congress, because for the first time ever, the president will be standing there, and sitting right behind him will be the vice president and the Speaker of the House. And
Right.
they will both be women.
Yes,
it'll
absolutely.
be Kamala Harris and it'll be Nancy Pelosi.
Yes.
Giving governmental witness to the old adage that behind every good man, there is sometimes even two better women right there, making them that much better.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, congratulations to a return to the status quo. And we still have work to do, but it's nice to start on an actual level that doesn't involve Nazis.
Amen. Aaron Fry asked the question, do you think that the new president will dance with the new vice president?
Hopefully not.
Why you say that?
I don't need to see Joe dance.
You don't think Joe got those steps?
Look, I don't want to get into all this. Look, I don't need no more dancing presidents. I don't need no more Al Green. I don't need the not like. I just want a regular ass president. Like just. Like I had 8 years of holding my breath with Barack Obama and the high highs and the low lows, and then we had an actual Nazi as president. Like I just need a regular dude to be president. Just be a regular dude.
You say regular dudes don't dance? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't need to be in the news. I don't need to be in the news. Regular, like just be a president, and then we talk. You know, we got a whole lot of work to do still. Like neither one of them were my favorites, but it's like the Nazi or some people you got reservations about. So it's like I'm happy the Nazi didn't win. Half the country still wanted the Nazi. So you know what? Everybody was talking about Dave Chappelle. Did you watch Dave Chappelle's?
I watched a little bit of his monologue. Yeah.
And it was brilliant.
It was.
But in my mind, the smartest thing anyone has said about the election, and I am not a Michael Che fan, or Michael Che, I think it's pronounced. Like I actually don't think Michael Che. Like I actually don't think he's that funny.
Mm-hmm.
But he said Saturday and up until now was like that part in Shawshank Redemption where Andy had negotiated them, and each of the men got 2 beers.
Oh yeah, up on the roof.
On the roof to tar the roof, and he had negotiated for them. And Red says, like, we were still in prison, everything was still jacked up.
Mm-hmm.
But for like a brief moment,
yeah,
it felt okay.
They were men.
Like we still got stuff to do. Nothing is where it needs to be, but for a brief moment, everything was okay.
Yeah.
And I said, that's actually it. Like, that's actually the feeling I had. So, no, I don't need no dancing. I don't, look, just be president. And we look, just let's work on this other stuff. You just be president.
Okay.
But that's me. That's me. That's me. Like I don't need him to do the sexy news on the Tonight Show and just be the president.
Well, I think that's what he will be, Vince.
Right. Like I don't want to. Like, was it just me? Like, did you check the news every morning on your phone for the last 12 years, and you kind of held your breath?
Oh, everybody.
You didn't know what, like I was so scared for the Obamas for 8 years, and then I had to I thought he was actually going to break the United States the past 4 years. So for like 12 years, it's been crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to be regular. Like, just be regular.
Okay. All right.
Like, I enjoyed my boys, and then we are going to move on. So, I have a WhatsApp conversation with my boys where you just talk, and for the past 4 years, whether it's the coronavirus or Nazis in the street or uprising, like I jump every time my phone buzzes. And it's been nice the past week. They've just been talking about football.
So you've been quiet.
Right. Well, and I can ignore it, I can think about movies, think about the connection.
Thank you for that segue, but we're not ready just yet.
Not quite yet.
Not yet. But it was a good one. It was a good one. I'll keep that in the back pocket, Vince.
I was about to say, maybe you can cut and paste that. Cut and paste it.
Going to the Facebook group where all of our missionaries are having a lot of fun sharing movie news and talking back and forth with one another. They've got quite a community going on over there.
I know.
Have you heard about this new movie that's going to be coming out February 2021, Vince, called Gunpowder Milkshake?
I saw the stills. Yeah, I did hear about it. I like the cast.
Gunpowder Milkshake, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be a new action film where the secret sisterhood of bad chicks just come to the rescue of this mother and daughter assassin team. This film stars Karen Gillan, Lena Headey of Game of Thrones fame, Michelle Yeoh, recently seen on Star Trek Discovery.
Killing it.
As always. Carla Gugino, and our very own Angela Bassett.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Like I said, that's quite a cast.
I am there for that.
Quite a cast.
I am there for that. Like Michelle Yeoh, beast. Angela Bassett, beast. Lena Headey, beast. Carla Gugino. Oh yeah, she's a beast on the low. I think people be sleeping on her. She's a beast, dog. I like Karen Gillan. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I'm with it. I can't wait to see that. That looks good. Also, they shared in the Facebook group, ladies and gentlemen. You can check it out. There were some first looks at the United States versus Billie Holiday, the new movie from director Lee Daniels. I wasn't aware actually that this film, which stars Andra Day, I didn't realize that it was written by Susie Lauren Parks.
Yes, you did. Yes, you were, because we talked about it.
Oh, did I? Okay, all right.
You actually told me. Told me. That's the only reason I'm keeping my eye on it.
That must be. Then I must have forgotten about that. Yeah, and I'm a fan of her work, especially her play Top Dog Underdog.
That's right.
But it looks. I mean, you just look. I was just looking at the pictures. That was all I was able to look at. It looks interesting.
It does.
And we both have said that Billie Holiday's life is a life worth exploring again in films.
Yeah.
So now I'm curious. I'm curious about that. I'm looking forward to checking that out when that comes out. I'm also looking forward to, whenever this comes out, the new 007 movie, No Time to Die, which will star, along with Daniel Craig, British actress Lashana Lynch, who is cast as 007.
Yes, she is.
In the movie.
Yes, she is. You think it's going to go to you think they're just going to hold it until it goes to the movies? Or do you think they'll try and stream it?
No. The James Bond movies are too big of films for them to go streaming. They'll lose too much money on. Like James Bond's an easy, that's an easy 500 million. You know what I mean?
Because I'm more interested in this part of it than the film itself. If Tenet makes an ass load of money next month when it comes out on video on demand,
right?
Do you think it's possible that can change some things?
No, because because when it comes out next month, which I think is going to be coming out on Blu-ray and DVD and all that type of stuff, and I think also the digital release, I don't think that market is what it used to be.
No. I thought it was coming out on video on demand. Like I didn't know it was coming out on Blu-ray and everything. You just said.
Okay. Even if it does come,
was streaming.
Even if it does come out on video on demand, I don't think that market is what it once was. And first of all, look, I like Christopher Nolan. I think he's a great I think he's a very great filmmaker. Like I think he's like hands down a phenomenal filmmaker.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I will also say that I don't necessarily like leap at the chance to see a Christopher Nolan film either.
True.
You know what I mean? So I don't see and Tenet, as much as I want to, root for the thing, it didn't grab me, made me feel like I had to see it. If it didn't. No, I didn't. I mean, it looked interesting enough, but it didn't look dissimilar enough from the rest of his films to make me want to run and go see it. And on home and on video on demand, I'm still not interested in seeing it. Now, when it hits HBO or one of those things, sure, I'll watch it then. But I'm not going to pay to watch it. And I don't think that that's going to make up. I don't think that the video on demand business is enough to make up for what these films can make in the movies, especially now in light of the seemingly good news that there may, we don't know, there may be some light at the end of the tunnel with this thing, with a vaccine.
Right.
So I think that these movie production houses who have lost tons of money this year.
No, I hear you.
And the movie theaters who are teetering on going out of business, I think both of them are going to find some way to try and hold on for another 4 or 5 months until films can come back out in the theaters.
I think for all intents and purposes, for theaters, 2021 is gone.
Do you think so?
I think if they release a vaccine in December,
right,
that is 100% effective.
Mm-hmm.
We're going into winter. So now we're coming into spring, summer. There's going to be another outbreak. And I think as soon as there's an outbreak from a theater, first of all, I think that the sales are going to be flat anyway going to theaters in 2021. And I think there's going to be at least 3 or 4 outbreaks at a theater, which are going to flatten it even more. People going to theaters. I think 2021 is done for movies, for the theater.
I hope not.
You going back to the theater in 2021? You going back to the movies? Vaccine released December 1st, 100% effective.
Mm-hmm.
When you going to the movies?
I might go to the movies by the summer.
Who are you going with?
Obviously not you.
Right. I mean, no, seriously.
No, seriously. I might go to the movies by the summer. Now, am I going to try and be as judicious about it as possible? And I think the movie theaters would be the same way. Not as many people in there. Be circumspect about how close I'm sitting to people, who I'm going with, and things of that nature. Certainly, but
no refreshments, which is where theaters make their money.
Well,
you still going?
I bring my own refreshments anyway. But
no. Well, I mean, no eating. I mean, you're gonna have to keep your mask on.
Depending on the film, yeah, I can see myself going to the movies in the summer. I could. This is me.
Okay, all right.
Now you're right. I will admit that I probably am, the outlier. Most people probably are. Well, no, I know. My lady definitely has already said, well, that's a done deal. I know she probably wouldn't be there with me.
Well, that's why I asked who you were going with, because you sound crazy.
It's not crazy.
And I said, well, I know he's not going with his lady. He must be going with by himself or something. He must know some other crazy people, like the 4 crazy people going to go.
They're not crazy people. I mean, look, I would go. That's all I'm saying.
Look. I'm just wondering, how long do you hold on? And, we're talking about James Bond. Obviously, we're having this conversation about Wonder Woman.
Yeah, Wonder Woman, Black Widow.
Black Widow. Like, there are a couple of them, and I'm just wondering how long. And I honestly don't know. Like I said, I'm honestly, I don't know anything about the economics of this thing. But I am honestly curious, how long do you hold on to it?
Before you drop them
try
some
to
other
recoup
way.
some money, or try to build another model, or I'm honestly curious, because again, I'm saying December 1st, a 100% effective vaccine comes out. Neither of those things are going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
So now we're going to get into January, February, and again, how long do you hold on to this when it's money sitting on the table? It may not be the money you wanted, but it's money sitting on the table.
George Carmona says that it would have to be DC versus Marvel for him to go, and I think he actually means the movie would actually have to be DC versus Marvel. Aaron Fry says the small film art houses are done here in New York City. Yeah, I know that's true. I know Cinemark is barely holding on right now.
Yeah. It is a shame. I am morbidly fascinated to see what's going to spring up in its place.
Yeah, me too.
But yes, Lashana Lynch, 007.
I'm interested in seeing that.
Yes, Naomi Harris.
I'm a Bond guy, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me see that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's almost time for us to get into our review. But before we do, hey, check it out, ladies and gentlemen. Did you know that on the Micheaux Mission website, you can hit this little tab that says swag, and that will take you to our TeePublic page, where you can see all of the cool designs, t-shirts, and whatnots that we have for your buying pleasure, because every sale goes a long way towards us keeping this show as a free show for you. So we appreciate each and every one of you who purchases our merch up there, including, I don't know if you saw this, Vince, we've got something new up there. We've got a new Micheaux Mission mask. Look at that.
Oh,
look at
fancy.
That. It looks fancy, don't it, Vince?
I know. It's almost like we have a graphic designer in-house.
I know, right? Right. Check out that funky little Micheaux logo, inspired by Adidas. And it is available on a mask. You can also get it on sweatshirts, t-shirts, and in a variety of actual different colors as well. So go to swag at micheauxmission.com and go get some swag. Why don't you? All right? Okay. All right, Vince. It is time for us to get into our review of 1961's The Connection.
The Connection. Are we out or?
And now it's time for trailer talk. I have to give it a little pause. That way I can always find it.
Right. Got you. What you want to talk about?
Nah. I didn't think of anything for trailer talk.
Let's see. What y'all want to talk about? We got like 5 minutes. What y'all want to talk about?
You know what they want to talk about? You know what George Cremona wants to talk about? He wants to talk about Star Trek Discovery.
Yes. But again, we got to figure that out.
You still haven't watched Star Trek Discovery?
No. I've watched it. I just said we're not going to talk about it.
George Cremona.
I'm really enjoying it.
I have to catch up on it. George Cremona has asked for our thoughts on the passing of Alex Trebek, who just recently passed away at the age of 80 years old.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame. It's there's that whole generation of talk show hosts, game show hosts that was just really classy, for lack of another word.
Mm-hmm.
Like they really did have this air of like they weren't personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's got personality. Like it was just and Alex Trebek was one of those people. Like you watch Jeopardy for him as much as the show itself.
Right.
So
right.
That's a shame.
I didn't realize he hosted that show for 37 years.
Right. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, that it's part of that generation.
Yeah. It's a shame. And he filmed his last show, I believe, on October 28th or 29th. So we're actually going to be still seeing him up through Christmas.
Okay.
They have new shows that are going to be airing.
Okay.
That's crazy.
It's
crazy. Yeah. And we've had a number of losses in the past few weeks. I think we talked about Sean Connery passing.
Yeah.
But here's a name that you'll recognize, Vince, but maybe not right off the bat. Kenneth Spears passed away this past Friday.
Oh yeah, the Scooby-Doo guy.
Yeah, he's the other.
But yeah, absolutely, and that is also a loss.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bree 517 says, "Shout out the amazing Black women." Oh yeah, keep saving our democracy from Nazis. Yes, indeed. Yeah, yes, indeed. And it shames me to say it, but we do not deserve Black women. But thank you. But yeah, absolutely.
No,
absolutely.
No, we don't.
Absolutely. And
she says, to know us is to love us is a treasure. Very true.
Absolutely. No doubt. I always say you're not even preaching to the choir. Like you're preaching to two preachers who are on the stage next to you.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
So absolutely.
Amen.
Oh, Aaron, we're with the factoid.
Yes, that Adam Wade was the first Black game show host back in the late 70s. Now, I'm not familiar with Adam Wade.
I was about to say, I have no idea who that is.
I'm going to look him up now.
I have no idea who that is, but this is the kind of stuff I love. I love this.
I do. Adam Wade. Oh, he was born in Pittsburgh, And he's
Okay.
best known for his stint as host of the CBS game show Musical Chairs back in 1975. So this is not a...
Nice.
Wow.
Nice. I had to pull it up because the last thing that was on my phone that I was searching for was Louis Gossett, A Taste for Justice.
Ah, yes.
Messing around with you, Lynn, before the show.
Yes.
Looking up TV movies with
We should
Louis
have saved that talk for trailer talk.
Right.
That is trailer talk. But
Right.
no, we're not going to go there.
We're not going to go there.
All right. Well, that's trailer talk, ladies.
Now I'm curious about the game show Musical Chairs.
The game show?
Oh, Lord. Now Aaron is saying he was on an episode of Good Times. I think Aaron is trying to distract us.
He was on one episode of Good Times. Well, I mean, everybody was on one episode of Good Times.
I know.
In the 70s, you were on an episode of Good Times. You were on an episode of The Jeffersons. You were on an episode of That's My Mama. You were on an episode of What's Happening. And you were on an episode of Sanford and Son.
Right.
You just rotated.
And then the entire cast of all the shows you just named were on an episode of The Love Boat.
They were?
Pretty much everybody you named would end up on The Love Boat.
Oh, you're right. They would. You're absolutely right.
You remember the episode of The Love Boat that Jimmy Walker was on?
I'm sorry, Vince. I let go of that factoid. there were more important things to keep on.
So Jimmy Walker was a ghost, and his widow was looking for a new husband. And Jimmy Walker thought that he couldn't leave the earth until she found new love. So the whole episode was about her trying to find a new husband. And then when she started dating the dude on the boat, he got jealous. It was like a backdoor pilot. It was the most bizarre thing. I mean, maybe not the most bizarre thing you've ever seen, because we've seen some pretty bizarre things, but it was pretty bizarre.
That sounds like an episode of, that sounds like Fantasy Island, not Love Boat.
And yet it was on Love Boat.
Wow. You know what, Vince? You're going to hate me right now, but I'm going to give you and the missionaries a little treat before we go into our review. Because you bringing up the Love Boat reminds me that the Love Boat, for all its quirks, is one of my favorite shows of all time. Why? Not because of the show, but because of the theme song. And yes. Why?
Why?
Because I love to sing the theme song.
Before you do, Aaron, I think you're right. I think that was Brenda Sykes who played his wife. Aaron is killing it tonight. I think it was Brenda Sykes. That sounds right.
Love.
Oh, for God's sake.
Exciting and new.
I'm going to have some water so that I'm well lubricated when we start.
We're expecting you and love. Life's sweetest reward. Let it flow. It floats back to you, the Love Boat. Soon we'll be making another run. The Love Boat promises something for everyone. Set a course for adventure, your mind on a new romance. And love won't hurt anymore. It's an open smile on a friendly shore. It's love Welcome aboard, it's love.
Aaron, it was actually Bernie Watson. But I can see how you would mix her up with Brenda Sykes. You ready to do the movie now?
Let's get into our review of The Connection.
You are a strange man, Lynn Webb. All right. Tell me when to go.
I might have to leave that for like a little bonus at the end of the episode. That was fun. All right. Go.
The Connection is a 1961 feature film directed by American experimental filmmaker Shirley Clark. In a cramped and dirty apartment, 8 junkies variously goof off, chat, and play jazz music while waiting for their heroin connection to show up. They've also struck a deal with documentary filmmaker Jim Dunn, played by William Redford. They'll let him film them provided he pays for their drugs. When the dealer, Cowboy, played by Carl Lee, arrives, he's suspicious of the filmmaker and his camera, enough so that Dunn considers trying heroin himself to prove he's no narc and to better understand his subjects. Again, jazz, drugs, and the nature of filmmaking. The Connection, directed by Shirley Clark, based on the play by Jack Gelber, who also wrote the script, stars Carl Lee, Warren Finington, Freddie Reed, Gary Goodrow, Roscoe Lee Brown, and a variety of jazz musicians. This was the choice of Lynn Webb. Lynn, what do you have to say about 1961's The Connection?
The first thing I have to say about this film is that I could not believe, as I sat down and watched this movie, that this was 1961. There was so much about this film that, I mean, it definitely takes place in the, it's the 60s. It's a black and white film. It's different. It's shot from the vantage point of the director. The director is basically our window into this world of these heroin addicted artisans in this apartment as they're waiting for their fix. And it is unknowingly the birth of the found footage, genre, because you're introduced at the top of the film by the quote unquote cameraman, played by Roscoe Lee Brown, who was mostly seen off camera, that it was he who put together this film because the director kind of like left the film with him, So it's a found footage film before the found footage film genre was, came to be in the, I guess, the 90s or early 2000s with the Blair Witch Project or whenever that came out. But watching this movie, it just it feels that it's so much more recent. It feels like it's taking place in 1965, 66. It easily could be taking place in 1975. Because the immediacy of what's going on, the starkness of the story that it's telling, these jazz musicians who are clearly, amazing talents, but they can't get out of their own way because of their fix, and so they find themselves stuck in this apartment, unable to move because they just need that momentary high, and it is a momentary high that awaits them. But it was like this is 1961. This is just on the other side of the 50s that someone is taking a chance and filming a movie like this that is showing people shooting up, that is using as close to the vernacular of the street as they can, including, the S word. I'm like, yo, this can't be 1961, but there it is, and that's all because of the director Shirley Clarke, who you introduce as an experimental filmmaker. And sometimes when people say experimental filmmaker, you're like, really, did they really experiment? But she was. That's what she was about. She was about trying different avenues of telling a story. Whether it be trying to find different ways to film people dancing in some of her earlier films, till finding this loose connection that drugs have with jazz, because drugs is very much, unfortunately, a part of the history of jazz music. Because, jazz music, well, the music in general, but a lot of jazz musicians, their stories, go hand in hand with the drug epidemic in America, So to see that being brought to life on screen was like, whoa, this is pretty amazing to me. I was like, I was taken aback by it. This is based on a play by Jack Gelper. Usually stage plays hit a little harder than your films, and especially in 1950s, 1960s Hollywood. So it didn't surprise me that this was, of tougher stuff, of some meaner stuff, of some, open up a door and turning its lens on these people, these artists, and just sad men in this film, all of them men. It didn't surprise me that happened. I find myself falling more and more into the movie and being taken by the photography of it, the energy, the monologues that were going on as everybody was kind of introducing themselves. They're introducing you to the characters. All of them longtime junkies. The one character, Leach, whose apartment it is, he's kind of like our window into this world, because he introduces us to all the characters. But then there's a character named Sam, who pretty much becomes like the chorus of these guys, because he's not a musician. He's kind of just there. I found the film like real interesting, pretty provocative. The problem is with this movie for me, what happened is that as I was watching it, I started turning on my critic's head, my critic light. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, then some of what I was enamored with started to fall away.
Okay.
And it became as daring as an exercise as this movie was, it became a little bit more icky for me, because while this was actors playing the roles of junkies, it almost felt like, some type of cage, and we're on the outside looking at these trapped figures just trying and make their, navigate this small world in which they encompass, and them looking for their fix, which will just give them a momentary distraction from where they are, right? And that became pretty icky to me. Mm-hmm. the fact that it's a mixed cast. This is not an all black cast at all.
No, yeah, not at all.
It's heavier black, but the main speaking roles are predominantly white men. The director is a white guy. The camera guy is played by Roscoe Lee Brown in his film debut. But he is. I mean, I think he's only seen on camera maybe 3 times, and even then, it's very fleetingly because he's playing the camera operator, and that's our window into this world. Leach is
one of the times it's a reflection.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
Leach, is a white guy. Ernie, who may or may not be his friend, lover, I don't know, has a weird kind of vibe about him as well. He's a white guy. There's this really sad dude named what's his name? I wanted to say his name is Larry, but Larry is one of the Larry, I believe, is one of the musicians. Oh man,
is that Harry?
Harry. No, Solly. That's what
Solly.
Solly.
Right. Oh
Solly.
Yeah. Solly. Yeah.
Solly. Big guy. Solly. Bit of a sad sack type of guy. He's a big white guy. So you're and then Sam, who is a black guy, and you kind of learn Sam's story a bit. But those are really the 4 stories that you learn. The other people that are in this room are black individuals. They're black jazz musicians who are playing their hearts out in this film. They are blowing. They're on the pianos. And they're actual musicians.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because you have I'm just going to go through. You got Larry Ritchie, who is a very noted musician of the time. You have Freddie Redd on the piano, and he's the person that composes most of the music. Jackie McLean and Michael Matos. They're your performers in the film, but they are also waiting for their fix. And you don't learn as much about them. You just see them kind of like playing their music, getting high, coming down off of it, trying to deal with it and everything. So in a way, it feels real voyeuristic because, you're not even giving them any opportunity to show their world. You're not inviting us into their world. They're pretty much just set dressing and the score.
They're there for atmosphere.
They're there for atmosphere. And the shame of it is that in their mostly wordless atmosphere, they pull focus because you want to know what's going on in their mind. You want to know what's going on in Freddie Redd's mind as he's playing the piano. You want to know what's going on in Larry Ritchie's mind as he is trying to keep his face away from the camera. You want to know what's going on in their head. You don't get to really truly witness it because when they play, they play. When they're high, they don't play. So you don't see necessarily the effects of the drugs on their creativity, on their talent. So they become just another part of the room. And I think that is really to the detriment of the film. So the only other black person who you're allowed a window into their world is the cowboy character, who's a person that is bringing them their fix, who's a person who was then one by one hooking them up, and giving them their heroin, also going through his own, high blast off as well. And for I don't know what reason, he comes into this apartment with this, I think, like 105-year-old woman named Sister Salvation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Who comes into the film and even at one time looks at the camera as if to say, "What the hell am I doing here?"
Yeah, it's kooky.
Because it makes she offers absolutely nothing to the film. She doesn't even offer any really like commentary on what's happening in this world. At least not that I could discern. So with all of that, as much as I wanted to be like really just like drink in this movie and drink in the experiment of it and celebrate it for that, which it has been over the years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It is a movie that has been refound and reappreciated. And I think it is a movie worth reappreciation. And yet I still think that on the whole, it is a fabulous attempt, but still a miss.
Yeah. I think I agree with where you land. I think the connection technically is an achievement. Thing that you said, but ultimately, this is a film that left me cold for a few reasons. First and foremost, we've discussed this before. I think it's very difficult to take a play and adapt it to film. I think the nature of plays, I think the nature of the physicality of the play, I think the immediacy of the play, the power of plays, I think loses something when it's adapted for screen. And yeah, I think we've watched a couple that have worked in differing degrees. Like I think A Soldier's Story is just as good as A Soldier's Play. But I think that's because of the nature of the story with the flashbacks and everything. I think Fences the film is fantastic, but we talked about it. As much as I love Fences the film, with that same cast, it loses something when you move it from the stage to the screen. There's something stilted about what happens when it goes from the stage to the screen, because you need that flesh and blood to breathe into it. I think this is a very, very theatrical piece. You know, like you can actually see the stage, and the dialogue is very sort of, you know, full of affectation, and like you said, it's all like there's nothing natural about anyone in this film. Like when you talked about Sister Salvation, she seems like something that would show up in a play. Shake up the rhythm of the play. But in the film, like you said, it's completely out of sorts. I think the other thing that this film is an example of, and I actually jotted this down, this film is a perfect example or a perfect example of the reason I never actually changed my major from English to film. Like this very much feels like the film that they show in film classes.
Oh, okay. All right.
And that you study. And it's so concerned with filmmaking. Like it's so concerned with the mechanics of the filmmaking that I think it gets in the way of the actual story.
I see. Yeah.
You know, I think there's this whole relationship between Roscoe Lee Brown as the cameraman and Dunn, who is the quote unquote filmmaker. And it's sort of interesting, but again, it sort of gets in the way of actually being a movie.
Right.
You know, just like actually being a movie. And the bad thing is, I was thinking of films that address this, you know, these sort of meta films, these films about films that do it better. And the two that jump to my, I always go to Rashomon which is not a movie about movies, but it's a movie about stories.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
Francis Ford Coppola's The Conversation.
Mm.
Brian De Palma's Blow Up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the sad thing is, or the irony is, that if Francis Ford, maybe not Kurosawa, because I think Rashomon comes out before this, but if you get Brian De Palma and Francis Ford Coppola in this room, I would bet you my arm they would cite this film as something that influenced those other films that I just named.
Okay.
I just think they do it better.
Hmm.
Like, I think both of those films, in all three of those films, if you include Rashomon, are actual movies. Like, they're
Most
actual
definitely.
that aren't so invested in the experimentation part of the movie. And even that, like when we talked about, I would say, you and I were just talking about oversimplification of her beauty because for something else that we were doing. And that very much was an experimental film.
Yes, it was.
But I think it had heart and passion that I don't get. Like, this is so cold by my reading that I couldn't really connect with it as a film.
Yeah.
Having said that, I did like a couple of the performances. I liked screen went blank. I really liked Carl Lee as Cowboy. Like, I thought he was very charismatic, and now I kind of want to go watch Superfly again and kind of see how this connects to Superfly. I liked William Finnerty's performance as Leech.
I did like him. He had a Steve Buscemi energy about him.
He had a Steve Buscemi energy about him that I enjoyed as a discrete performance.
Mm-hmm.
The music is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
The music is fantastic, but much like what I just said about the cold distance, you get the sense that this film wasn't as invested in the musicians, like you said, as musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this really was sort of that, just to keep comparing text. When you look at how the music worked in, what is it? I always forget the title. The Othello movie that we watched.
All Night Long.
All Night Long. And you see how music works in All Night Long versus this.
Yeah.
And how the music is metaphorical for what's going on with these characters.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to this, as you said, they're just there to provide this cool music.
Mm-hmm.
And even the whole plot of the subject now becomes the one in charge, like when they pull the filmmaker in, and then he becomes talking about, the problem is you and I talk too much. You and I were just talking about Street Smart a few days ago.
Mm-hmm.
And Street Smart does it so much better. But again, you kind of feel like it's unfair to name these films from the 80s.
Yeah.
That do something better than a film in 1961.
Exactly, which was the one of a kind, the first of its kind.
Which, as I said, I forget off the top of my head who directed Street Smart. But I do wonder if the connection is in the DNA of these other films.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know Brian De Palma and Francis Ford Coppola are students of film. Like, I know they saw this. And I know they were aware of this. You looking up Street Smart real quick?
Street Smart was directed by Jerry Schatzberg.
I'm not really familiar with him, so I can't speak to him. But like I said, De Palma and Coppola are very much students of film. So that, much like you, I think I can acknowledge the importance of this film.
Mm-hmm.
If someone told me that they wanted to study film, like, I would say, oh, maybe you should check out The Connection.
Yeah.
I completely understand why Criterion champions this film. But as far as something I would recommend, I think I would recommend every other film that I named before this.
I think
because
I think I would too. Yeah.
fairly or unfairly, they all accomplish the things that this film does better.
Right, right.
So,
now, if someone told me they were going to stage another adaptation of The Connection, I'd be interested in checking that out.
I might be interested in that, exactly.
That I would be interested in checking out.
Because you can tell even from the performances in the film that the physical space and the way that the players move around each other would work differently on stage.
Yeah. Now, a shout out to all of these actors that are in this movie, because I think you even mentioned it in the beginning. They are the actors that, perform in the play. So they had this in their bones. And like I said, it's not the fault of the acting in this movie for the most part. No. It's just that the execution just falls a little short. And like I say, hey, it's an experiment. You take a chance. It's the first of its kind. It's 1961, and there is a filmed image of someone taking drugs, sticking a needle in their arm. I mean, they don't go that far in movies today. They always cut away. This was 1961, and they showed it going in there, man.
And I love the way they handle it, where initially you don't see the drug use. Like they go into the bathroom, and you think this is all going to happen off stage, and then it's only when the one character demands more, that you see the stark reality of it. And that I mentioned it when you were talking about Roscoe Lee Brown. I think it's important that you see Roscoe Lee Brown's reflection as he's filming it, so that you get a sense, that again speaks to the exploitation factor of this.
Right.
Where it's actually in the script where a couple of them say that he has come in to kind of film this for his own career, but he doesn't know anything about jazz. He doesn't know anything about drugs. He just is looking for a story. Which is a commentary on that we've had about these documentaries forever. It's funny. I just read a review of I just had the review up because it was of it was a memoir that came out. Right. Hillbilly Elegy. Ron Howard is making a film based on J.D. Vance's memoir about, and it's one of these things where since Donald Trump was elected, there were all these documentaries, all these think pieces, all these books written about the poor benighted white working class of Appalachia. But it very quickly became this kind of hillbilly porn. Where you kind of look at the poors up in the mountains and how they are, and let's all point at them. And a couple of the reviews that I read of when J.D. Vance came out with his memoir was the same thing. So the fact that Shirley Clarke is even addressing this in 1961 is admirable.
Yes.
Like the way these, just sort of the imbalance of power and the exploitative nature of documentary and all of this, that kind of like you said, nobody is talking about this in 1961.
Nope.
So, you have to give her credit for that.
Yeah, I do. I champion that. She actually talks about describing the impact her experience as a woman has had on her filmmaking. She said, there are several reasons why I succeeded at all. One, I had enough money that I didn't have to become a secretary to survive. And secondly, I have developed this personality, this way of being. I happen to have chosen a field where I have to be out there to constantly connect, to be in charge of vast amounts of money, equipment, and people. And that is not particularly a woman's role in our society. I grew up in a time when women weren't running things. They still aren't. But she ran her business. And, God bless her for it. So
I, like you, don't think I would necessarily call this a black film, but I do think reading it black, as we do occasionally, makes it a much more layered film, because I do think the fact that Roscoe Lee Brown ultimately is the storyteller, and because of his blackness and because of his experiences with this world, he's not pulled in, like Dunn. And I absolutely think that that's a racialized moment or racialized detail.
Yeah, so do I. And while I wouldn't say it's a black film, it's at the cookout, and it's a movie worth exploring. So I would recommend that people see it. I don't know. I would. And now, don't get me wrong. I think it's not for everyone. I'm not going to say. I'm not going to lie. It's not for everyone. But I do think that it's a film that if you're interested in films, you're interested in filmmaking, you're interested into yes, a bit of a time capsule of 1961. You know, some stuff didn't just happen in the mid 60s, ladies and gentlemen. There was stuff that was here all along.
Sure.
Just coming out of the golden age of the 50s. I think it is a movie worth watching. I don't think it landed, but I didn't regret seeing it. So
I disagree. I think you can skip this.
Okay.
I think you can read about it. You know, I think certainly you can find its DNA in other films, like I talked about. But I don't know if that was 2 hours well spent.
It was an hour and a half.
I mean, okay, we'll split the difference, because it was like an hour 47.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So I very rarely use mine. So like, I have to use it occasionally.
That's true.
I think you can skip this one.
All right.
I think you can skip this one. Read about it.
Well, okay. Read about it. Watch some clips.
Read about it. Yeah. So.
I won't be mad. I'm not going to die on this hill, so it's fine. It's fine.
It's like you planted your flag, and I said no, and then you said,
all right. All right. So before we tell you what we're going to be watching next week, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank each and every one of you who are checking us out on YouTube and as well as on Facebook in the Micheaux Mission Facebook group. If you're watching this on YouTube, please tell a friend. Subscribe to our YouTube channel because it would be nice.
That's your sales pitch, huh?
That's my pitch. Micheaux Mission on YouTube. It'd be nice. Why not? The Micheaux Mission is available as a podcast, ladies and gentlemen, every Wednesday on MicheauxMission.com, as well as any place and every place that you find podcasts, as well as the Podglomerate Podcast Network, the Podglomerate curated podcast for your listening pleasure. And you can check out the Micheaux Mission in edited form every Saturday on WPPM. Take two. You can check out the Micheaux Mission every Saturday at 1 p.m. on WPPM 106.5 FM Philly Cam. People-powered media here in the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. And you can check us out and wake up with the Micheaux Mission every Monday morning at 9 a.m. on WKDU 91.7 FM, the voice of Drexel University. If you really want to help us out, the best way you can help out the Micheaux Mission is go to the podcast distributor of your choice, and give us a 5-star rating and a review, because that helps other people find our little show. All right. Okay. Next week on the Micheaux Mission.
Well, the bus was running late, but now it's gotten here. And now we're going to get on the bus.
Yes. We're getting on the bus next week, ladies and gentlemen. 1996 Spike Lee film about a road trip to the Million Man March, starring Ossie Davis, Isaiah Washington, Andre Braugher, and a man we like to call Tommy Lee Bird.
How you not going to talk about Roger Gouverneur?
And Roger Gouverneur Smith. And I shouldn't have said and, because now I can't think of his name. The bald guy never ages.
The bald guy who never ages.
He's a young buck in this movie. He's not a young buck, but he sits with Ossie Davis in most of the movie.
Rock Dutton, Charles Dutton.
Charles Dutton is the bus driver, not Charles Dutton. Vince, you know him. He looks Tevin Campbell-ish. He's I'm trying not to look it up. I think it begins with an H. I think his name begins with an H.
Not Hill Harper.
Hill Harper.
That's Hill Harper. Yeah.
Whew.
Harry Lennox, Richard Belzer, Wendell Pierce.
Wendell Pierce is in this movie.
It's a killer cast.
I forgot Wendell Pierce was in this movie.
It's a killer cast.
Yeah, George Kimona is actually reminded me about that. My man Bunk steals the movie. Yeah, Wendell Pierce.
Yeah, the cast that Get on the Bus is not playing with y'all.
All right. Well, we weren't going to be playing with you, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to review Get on the Bus next week here on the Micheaux Mission. All right. Until then, he's Vince and I'm Len. And in parting, we say,
we'll see you when it's time to meet again.
The love.